OpenAI just bought an independent media source and set a wild new precedent for egomaniacal podcast hosts who now believe that they can make 9 figures from an acquisition. This might be one of the most important stories of the year at the convergence of media and big tech money that is seeking to control the narrative. When independent media gets dependent on big corporate money, the independent part just historically gets squeezed out and we start treading into propaganda machine territory. But first, let's back up. We already know that OpenAI loves sycophancy. Their models are famous for telling you that you're brilliant, agreeing with everything that you say, indulging your AI psychoses. But it turns out they don't just build sycophancy into their AI, they're also willing to pay for it themselves. Everyone needs some love sometimes, and OpenAI's been catching strays in the media. OpenAI just bought TBPN, which is the most influential tech talk show in Silicon Valley, and they put it under their chief political operative. TBPN, if you don't already know, it's a show where the AI conversation happens every day. They bring on the big guns of tech and business. Zuckerberg goes on it, Nadella goes on it, Altman. I love them. The hosts, John Coogan and Jordy Hayes, built something really real and incredible from nothing in about a year. $5 million in ad revenue in 2025, on track for $30 million this year. They're competing with CNBC, and people trust them. They stream for a few hours every day. They push back. They challenge assumptions. They're cool. And OpenAI clearly agreed because they just bought it for reportedly several $100 million. The show now reports to Chris Lehane, who is not an editor or a journalist, but OpenAI's chief of global affairs. He's a political operative. He's the same guy who just wrote that policy document asking the government to rewrite the rules for OpenAI, give them stuff like legal immunity and state law preemption and a power grid the size of UK's, basically a blank check to do whatever they want in the name of increasing economic capacity for the US. That is the guy who decides what this podcast's budget is now, which I don't quite get, but let me get out my whiteboard and my tinfoil hat and I'll try to figure it out after this. The ad business is being shut down. TBPN's previous sponsors included Google Gemini, who's a direct OpenAI competitor. That is no more. The show's revenue used to come from independent advertisers. Now it's all funneled from big OpenAI. And when your paycheck comes from the company you cover, your coverage changes. Even if you swear up and down, you say it won't. And maybe not on day one, but it changes because when you open your mouth to say something negative or to critique the business operations of the company that pays your bills, the mortgages on multiple houses you have, you start to think differently, report differently. And the sad part is that audiences lose interest in shows that they don't trust as much, where they feel like there's a corporate agenda that's being pushed. And that's a pretty hard allegation to deny when you've just been bought by the biggest checkbook in town that has one of the most massive agendas in the world. This is happening at the worst possible moment for media. Independent media is getting crushed from both ends right now. On one side, there is the government. Trump is going after the press through litigation, FCC pressure, pulling credentials, defunding NPR and PBS. A federal judge just ruled this week that the executive order cutting public media funding was unconstitutional. The Times just won a First Amendment case against the Pentagon. So Barry Weiss left legacy media to build the free press on the idea that independent journalism was supposed to be sacred, and then got appointed to run a government task force on censorship. So the independent media figure became a government appointee. Independence had a shelf life. On the other side, the tech companies are buying what's left. So OpenAI buys TBPN. Sam Altman funded John Coogan, who's one of the host's first companies back in 2013. There is a very fine line between tech power and tech media. But what I keep coming back to is in the age of AI, where anything you read could be generated, manipulated, or sponsored. Independent media that actually holds power accountable matters more than it has in decades. And right now, it's getting sued by the government and bought up by the companies it's supposed to cover. And I ask, who's going to step up and be our hero? Do I have to do everything? Altman posted that he doesn't expect TBPN to go any easier on us. But also, nobody buys a media company for several $100 million so it can keep criticizing them. And if they do, then that's one of their meaningless side quests that they've been talking so much about cutting out at OpenAI. You want the criticism to come from inside the house where you can see it coming. That's exactly what Sam Altman's doing. And this matters to me because when AI can generate anything, the government is attacking the press, the companies building the future are controlling what's on the mic. Independent journalism is not a nice to have. It is maybe the only thing that actually matters for information that is pure and real. And there's less of it today than there was yesterday.